A long, long time ago, in the red-soiled village of Ikorodu, there lived a young farmer named Okon, a man whose pride was taller than his yam barn. Okon was the type that could boast about anything. If his maize sprouted early, he would shout, "I told you! The gods know who they favor." He was good looking in a noisy way, always wearing his straw hat like a chief. But what Okon had in pride, he lacked in sense. Every evening after work, he would sit under the palm wine tapper's hut with other young men at Zimbasi, Mfon and Eyo, drinking, boasting and arguing about women. One night, while drinking, Okon leaned forward and said proudly, "My uncle, Chief Awana, is enjoying life. You need to see. 3 wives, yet look at him, still fresh like new palm wine. The man walks as if the ground owes him apology. A man I stand. Hey!" The men laughed, slapping their thighs. Etimbasi said, "Okon, you think his enjoyment? That man's head is full of quarrel. Every week he does peace meeting." Okon waved him off. Etim, you don't understand royal life. When women are many, the home is sweeter. One cooks soup, another fries fish, the third massages your legs. Tell me, is that not heaven on earth? Old Papayo, the wise palm wine tapper himself, laughed from his corner and said, "My son, heaven is sweet, but too much sweetness brings toothache. If you marry 3, your head will learn mathematics that you never studied." Everyone laughed. But Okon lifted his calabash and said proudly, "Ta! I am not afraid of mathematics. If Chief Awana can manage 3, me, Okon, can manage 4. They cheered and drank to that. But old Papa Eyo only shook his head and muttered, "Every goat that follows a stubborn path meets the trap." Well, not long after, Okon found love, or something that looked like it. Her name was Eka, a calm and hardworking woman who could fry plantain with her eyes closed. She was everything a man could ever ask for: respectful, neat, and wise. Their marriage was small but joyful. For the first year, peace lived in their home. Eka cooked happily, sang while pounding yam, and kept the house smelling of freshness. Okon often returned from farm to find food waiting and laughter coming from the kitchen. He would sit outside, fanning himself proudly while neighbors hailed him, "Okon the lucky farmer. Okon whose wife has sense. Okon that eats 3 times before noon. We salute you, sir." He would smile proudly and reply, "When you marry well, life becomes a festival." But little by little, pride began to grow inside him like weeds in a neglected farm. One market day, as Eka served him food, Okon began talking nonsense. "Eka, my darling wife, you are doing well, but sometimes I think I need to find a helping hand for you. Maybe another woman to assist with chores." Eka paused. "Help? Am I complaining? Or did your food reduce in taste?" Okon laughed, waving his hand. No. I just mean, see my uncle now, Chief Awana. 3 wives, yet his house runs smoothly. I too can handle it." Eka rolled her eyes and hissed, "Handle what? Even goat with 1 rope tangles itself. You now want to add 2 more ropes to your neck." He smiled and ignored her. "My dear, when a man is strong, he should multiply his blessings." Eka looked at him and then said, "Okon, sometimes you talk as if your shadow is wiser than you. Receive sense." He laughed again and kissed her cheek. By the time the next moon came, Okon's chest had swelled like ripe pawpaw. Villagers began teasing him again, saying, "Chief, Chief, when will you take your second wife now?" Instead of laughing it off like every other normal human being would, he would smile and say, "Very soon. The lion must have more than one lioness. Watch out." Meanwhile, Eka sat at the corner watching him and shaking her head. Old women of the village whispered to her and said, "Your husband's eyes are wandering. Better tie him down with prayer before he ties himself down with trouble." But my paddies, pride has no ears. It doesn't listen to anyone. So by the end of that harvest season, Okon began sneaking visits to Udeme, the young daughter of a fish seller from the next village. She was bright-skinned, extremely beautiful, sharp-tongued, and dangerously lazy. He told her, "You are going to make my home complete." She smiled and said, "Then complete it fast, before another man carries me." And just like that, Okon's foolish dream began to form. In a few weeks' time, Okon carried Udeme into his compound with pride. It was a sunny Saturday. Drums rolled, women danced, and Okon strutted about in a starched white senator and red cap, grinning like a goat on market day. Eka sat quietly in a corner, pretending to smile while her heart was hot, roasted like dry fish. The women of Ikotudu whispered to her in pity, "Eka, be strong, oh. You see this your husband, he will soon learn the hard way." But Okon did not even care. He kept spraying palm wine on the ground and shouting, "Let the world know I have added another flower to my garden." And that was it, oh my people. Okon was now a man with 2 wives. And, as prophesied, by the next morning, the compound had changed from peaceful to problemful. Udeme was indeed beautiful. Her skin was as smooth as ripe pawpaw. Her waist was like question mark. But she had one weakness. She loved enjoyment more than she loved work. She would wake up at 10 a.m., stretch like a cat and say, "A woman needs her beauty rest." Eka, who had already swept, cooked, washed, and even fetched water twice, would hiss loud enough for heaven to hear. Beauty rest. You think food grows by beauty? From there, war began. One morning, Okon returned from the farm and found the 2 women standing outside with their faces squeezed like bitter leaf and their wrappers tied above their waists. A pot of soup sat in the middle like evidence in court. "What happened again?" Okon asked, dropping his hoe. Mama Eka pointed at Udeme. "Ask this one. I cooked soup yesterday. This morning, I opened the pot and half has disappeared. She is the only suspect." Udeme crossed her arms proudly and responded, "I swear by the shrine of Etam, I did not touch your soup. Maybe your ancestors ate it." Eka gasped. "So my ancestors are now thieves?" Before Okon could speak, both women started exchanging words faster than drum beats. "Lazy fish seller's daughter. Woo! Old broom of a wife. Woo!" Okon tried to separate them, shouting, "Please, peace, peace. Peace is better than pamoyo. Hold your peace." But nobody even listened to him. By the time he finally managed to stop them, his shirt was torn and his dignity was missing. That night, he sat outside under the moonlight, rubbing his forehead and mumbling, "Love needs patience. Whew, patience." Then, quietly, he slipped out to drink palm wine in the tapas hut. The next day was worse. Eka refused to cook again, saying, "Let Madam Beauty handle kitchen duties now. Me, I have resigned." Udeme cooked once, burnt the rice and complained that firewood smoke was attacking her fine eyes. She said, "From today, I will be cooking only once a week. A queen does not live in smoke." Okon was surprised. Once a week? So we'll eat air for 6 days? Udeme rolled her eyes. Eat fruits. They are healthy and good for you. That night, Okon chewed dry gari and asked himself if marriage was a joke or a punishment. By the 3rd week, the entire village knew that Okon Etim's paradise had turned to public entertainment. Every morning, the women fought over salt, over stolen fish, over who took whose wrapper from the line. Neighbors began bringing stools to watch the drama. One day, Mama Udo the gossip shouted from her own compound, it's starting again, oh! Okon's wives are doing morning devotion. The crowd gathered instantly. Udeme stood barefoot, waving her arms and screaming, Eka is a witch, oh! I saw her in my dream, chasing me with broom and fire. Crowd gasped. Eka screamed back, if I was chasing you, it's because you were stealing my meat in the dream too. Ole! Okon ran out half-dressed, shouting, Enough! You people like fight past quarrel in this compound. But it was too late. The story spread like Hamatan fire. By evening, the whole of Ikotudu was whispering, Okon's wives are fighting spiritual battles. They are witches. He thought he married beauty. He didn't know he married BBC, Broadcasting Battle Corporation. That night, Okon sneaked to the palm wine hut again, because that was the only safe space he knew. Old Papa Eyo, the wise man that once advised him, looked up from his corner and said quietly, My son, how market? Okon sighed. Did I not tell you? I told you now. I told you that the sugar that is sweet in your uncle's mouth is the same sugar that will remove your teeth. Okon buried his face in his hands. Maybe I just need to marry one more, to balance the energy. Ha! The old man almost dropped his cup. What? Add fire to the smoke? But Okon smiled faintly and said, Papa Eyo, you won't understand though. The problem is not many wives. The problem is the wrong combination. The next one I'll marry, she will bring peace. Papa Eyo looked at him long and hard and said, Okon, your grey hairs will come early enough to teach you wisdom. Receive sense. And that was how Okon Etim, proud and foolish, began planning his 3rd marriage, convinced that peace would finally come if he just balanced the house. So he took a 3rd wife. Her name was Adiaha, a widow from the next village, tall, loud, and full of stories nobody asked for. She arrived with 2 grown sons who shouted instead of talked, and a stubborn goat that ate both yam and slippers. She called herself Mama Experience. I have seen life, and life has seen me too, she told anyone who cared to listen. The villagers whispered, What life did you see that made you pack your children and goats into another man's trouble? But Adiaha didn't care. The day she entered Okon's compound, she looked around and said, this place needs a woman with wisdom. You people have been living like learners. From that moment, my paddies, the battle line was officially drawn. Eka, the 1st wife, hissed so much so that even mosquitoes avoided her hut. Udeme, the 2nd wife, rolled her eyes and said, Let her come in and taste it. The fire that roasted us is still very hot. By evening, Adiaha had already rearranged the kitchen, moved the pots, and declared herself senior wife by age and experience. That night, the 3 of them almost broke the compound door shouting, I was here first, Eka said. Beauty must be respected, Udeme fired. Experience rules above all, Adiaha blasted. Okon stood in the middle, sweating, holding a lantern like a referee in a dark stadium. When the noise became too much, he shouted, Enough! Let peace reign. But peace had packed its load and left a long time ago. Within 1 week, the compound became a full-time theater. Every morning, quarrel. Every afternoon, complaints. Every night, door locking competition. Then there came the bills. Bills began to rise like morning smoke. 3 women, 2 stepsons, 1 goat, and endless complaints. If Eka needed salt, Udeme needed kerosene. If Udeme needed new wrapper, Adiaha needed pamoyo money. Even the goat started eating more than everyone combined. And of course, Okon's farm couldn't keep up. He sold his best hoe and his bicycle, then half of his pride. Still, he couldn't keep up. One morning, as he bent over the water pot to wash his face, he froze. The reflection staring back at him had streaks of grey in the beard. He blinked, touched it and shouted, "Ha! I am edging with force, like old Pamoyo. Oh my God." The shout woke the whole compound. Udeme rushed out with her hair flying. Mama Eka peeped through the window. Adiaha came running with broom in her hand, thinking it was thieves. When they saw Okon staring at his beard, the 3 of them burst out laughing. "Papa Okon," Udeme mocked him. "Grey hair looks good on you. It shows responsibility." Adiaha added, "It's not responsibility, it's punishment," Eka said. Okon shook his head in anger and frustration. That evening, as he sat under the mango tree, he sighed and said to himself, "Maybe if my uncle could handle 3 wives, I just need more wisdom." The thing is, since he saw grey in his beard, he knew he was aging fast. So his pride began to shrink like wet garri. Yet his mouth has refused to say, "I was stupid." He kept telling people, "Marriage is sweet oh, only if the man knows how to handle women." So one day, word reached him that his uncle, Chief Awana, the same man whose footsteps he had proudly followed, was visiting Ikotudu. Okon's chest lifted again. He brushed his grey beard and shouted to his wives, "Let this compound shine today. My uncle must see that his blood is strong in me." Eka rolled her eyes. Let him come and see the confusion his name has caused. By afternoon, Chief Awana arrived in a long white abada and red cap, walking slowly with the confidence of a retired lion. Okon ran out quickly to welcome him, kneeling slightly. "My father, the pillar of men, you are welcome." The chief laughed proudly. "My son, I heard you are following in my steps." "Yes, Papa. 3 wives now and more grace coming," Okon said, puffing his chest up. They sat down and started drinking palm wine and gisting. Then some villagers gathered to greet the old chief. Everything looked perfect. Until the sound of quarreling floated from the far end of the road. At first, Okon thought it was ordinary village noise, Then he heard it clearly. 3 female voices arguing in unison. "You thief! Return my charm soap before thunder fires you. See, if you call my name again, I will pour pepper water on you." Chief Awana froze. Okon was surprised. From the corner of the road, 3 women came in, wrappers flying. "Papa Awana," the first one screamed, "ask this witch why she stole my charm soap." "It's a lie, oh," the second one shouted. "She used the charm to keep your love." "All of you, shut up," the third one barked. "If I speak my truth, this compound will scatter." Within seconds, the peaceful visit turned into a live drama. Villagers abandoned their chores and ran to watch. Even the goats climbed a bench to see better. Okon stood speechless, and Chief Awana's face lost its color. He whispered, "My son, don't stand there! Hide me!" The 2 men dashed behind the nearest palm tree like guilty schoolboys, while the women continued dragging each other by the hair and the wrapper. "Give me back my man." "Your man? He sleeps in my room. You used love potion and you used bleaching cream." "Omo, The noise became louder and louder. Rappers tore, dust rose, and the crowd laughed non-stop. Old Papa Ayo shouted from the crowd, "Oh, connect him! See the future you borrowed blindly." When the fight finally calmed down, one of the women turned to Chief Awana and hissed, "Stay there with your fake crown of wisdom. We, your queens of war, are tired." And they all stormed off in different directions, leaving the compound scattered. Chief Awana came out slowly, adjusting his agbada and sweating. He sat down heavily on Okon's stool and said in a weak voice, "My son, polygamy is not a crown, oh, it's a cross, oh." Okon stared at him, the mighty man of 3 wives, now shaking like pap in a calabash. Then he let out a loud laughter. "So this is the wisdom I was copying. Hey, Papa, you carried fire and called it heaven." The chief sighed. "I wanted to show strength, oh, but what I carried was noise with rappers, so I have suffered all my life. All I do is hide for my peace of mind." The villagers laughed, eh? Some even rolled on the floor. And from that day, Okon stopped calling himself King of 3 wives. He now knew that his title was really Caretaker of Chaos. After the embarrassment with Chief Awana, Okon's spirit became quiet like yam buried under the sand. He no longer bragged in the palm wine joint. Now, he just walked around like a man who had misplaced his destiny. Each morning, the wives fought over something new. Even the neighbors grew tired. One evening, Mamudo shouted across the fence, "Okon, tie bell around us your women, oh, so that we will know when trouble is coming." Okon only smiled weakly. He had stopped replying to quarrels long ago. His beard was fully grey now, and his trousers hung loosely like borrowed clothes. Then one night, just before the new moon, Okon vanished. His wives woke up to an empty mat, but his slippers were still by the door. Eka screamed first, "Jesu, he has gone mad, oh." Udeme started crying. "It's the pressure. We have killed our husband." Even Mama experienced, the tough one, sat on the ground crying and beating her chest. A good man has finally escaped husbandhood. Hey! The news spread quickly. By afternoon, the whole of Ikotudu was talking. Some said Okon has run to the forest. Others said Okon has joined the monks. Another set of people said Okon has turned to spirit husband. And for the first time since they became co-wives, the 3 women stopped fighting. They joined hands together, weeping together at the village square and promising to change if Okon returned. But days turned into weeks. No Okon, no news, no sign. So they were left with no choice, and they began to work together in order to survive. Eka taught the others how to press palm nuts. Udeme handled selling, and Mama Experience brought her old trading sense. Together, they started a small palm oil business behind the house. At first, people laughed at them, saying, 3 women in one business, it will scatter. Bet me. But surprisingly, it didn't. They worked like ants and divided profits equally every market day. Soon, buyers began coming from other villages. The compound that used to echo quarrel now echoed laughter and peaceful rhythm. Even the goats looked happier. Then one market day, word came from his mother's side in its village. Okon was living there, quietly, farming alone and refusing to take another wife. Whenever the elders went to speak with him, he simply said, "Me, I have finished my own school of women. I passed through fire and graduated with grey hair. I no do again." Back in Ikotudu, his 3 wives, Mama Eka, Udeme, and Mama Experience, continued their palm oil business and built a life without him. They stopped quarreling, stopped competing, and began calling each other sister. One afternoon, A messenger brought news to each of them from their fathers, telling them that their husbands' people returned all their bride prices, that they are free women now. Somehow, this news liberated them, and they even started working harder, knowing that their destiny is now in their hands. From that day, oh my people, the story of Okon eating spread through everywhere. Pan wine hot, oh, everybody had a story in their tongue. The man who copied another man's crown and nearly lost his head. And so, my paddies, since that day, if you call Okon polygamist, he would smile sadly and say, "Call me widower by choice, please." Because sometimes peace does not come from fighting, it comes from walking away. And Okon chose peace. The end. Moral lesson. Face your life, oh. We don't know half the struggle anyone is facing, because people do not flaunt sadness. They only show the happy and excited, the joyful, non-problematic life. So just do you and pray to God it works for your own good. And with that, we have come to the end of today's story. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to Ntanziha Chilensa 70. I'm so sorry if I didn't get the pronunciation right, but you know yourself. Thank you for being the first to comment on my video. Thank you for being a loyal paddy. I appreciate it. Then another shout out goes to one of my male paddies at Ben Hero N4C. Thank you for commenting on almost all of my videos. You are a very loyal paddy, and I don't take you for granted. And to all of my paddies, thank you all so much for always engaging in my videos and watching my videos till the very end. I appreciate you. Now is the best time to subscribe if you haven't. But most importantly, please share this video with all your friends and your enemies. Everyone deserves a good laugh. I'll see you all in my next video. And until then, remember, don't let anyone dim your shine, oh. Ngwano. Bye.